What about second breakfast?
Time for second breakfast.
What's up, everybody? Monster from Breakdowns for Breakfast here with another episode of Second Breakfast. So it seems like a lot of my episodes have different themes. Sometimes it's a story about a band or an artist, or if you've been hanging out recently, we did the series on new metal albums. So, but one of the other ones is Monster Sees Blank Live. I guess I didn't realize how many shows and concerts I'm actually going to on a regular basis until I started doing a little bit of a summary of each one of them. But I went to a pretty cool one just to see. Today is August 26th, and so at the time of recording this, it's been a few weeks, but August 5th, me and friend of the show, David, went and saw what they're calling the quote-unquote Unity Tour. Now, what's really funny about the title of this tour, we'll start there, is that 311 has been calling their summer tours the Unity Tour since as long as I can remember. At least 10 plus years. So I don't really know. When it first got announced, I got my hopes up big time because I thought it was 311 with the bands that I'm getting ready to list. And if you're a fan of 90s alternative music, that would have been like a dream come true. But no, instead 311 took Bad Flower out on tour, and I don't really know much about them, and I haven't heard a lot of good things about them. So it doesn't matter. Friend of the show, David, wanted to go to this show, and he already had a ticket. And so we kind of got to talking. I basically said, I'll go with you. So the Unity Tour was Collective Soul with special guests Live, Our Lady Peace, and I know I'm going to get her name wrong, Greylin James Rue. Now, I'd never heard of her. She appears to be very young. I think that was sort of one of those buy-on deals to get in front of some people. Because she also, well, we'll get there. So anyway, this show was not, I've seen Our Lady Peace live before, but it's been a long, long time. But I really like them. And I actually really like Collective Soul. Their first 3 or 4 albums up through, I can never remember the name of the first one. It's really long. But then the second one's just the Blue Album, Collective Soul. The third one, Disciplined Breakdown. And then the fourth one, Dosage. I had all those, and I really enjoyed all of those. So, and then Live is not a band that I ever, I never sought them out. I heard a few of their songs on the radio and was very indifferent to most of it. So I didn't really care about them. But I wanted to see Our Lady Peace again, and I'd never seen Collective Soul, so I thought, hey, why the hell not? Sounds like fun. Especially with my buddy David. We go to a lot of shows together and we have a lot of fun. So anyway, and on top of all that, the show was actually in Greensboro, which is really close. Essentially where I live is just slightly north of Greensboro. So to go to a show in Greensboro is a 20 to 30 minute drive. To go to a show in Charlotte or Raleigh, we're looking at about 2 hours. So if this show ends at 10 or 11, I'm home at regular bedtime. So that also influenced my decision to say, yeah, sure, let's go together. Now, the show is supposed to take place at a place called the White Oak Amphitheater. Now, in Greensboro, I think they changed the name, but it used to be the Greensboro Coliseum Complex. And there was the great big Coliseum where they have, hockey games and the big concerts and stuff. Then they have the special event center, which is another big hall, but it's, a lot smaller. But then they also have the field house, which is kind of I guess it's like a steel structure, but it's kind of small. And that's where the minor league basketball team plays. And then there's another little place called the Piedmont Hall, which is essentially a small music venue. It might hold 1,000 people or something. I honestly don't know. It might even hold as many as 2,000, but it's not very big. It's like going to see a show at a really big club, basically. And then there's the White Oak Amphitheater. Now, this seems to be a relatively new thing, within the past, maybe 5-10 years, but small amphitheaters. Because before it was the amphitheater held 30,000 people. But then these smaller ones would start popping up like in downtown areas. And that's kind of how this is. The Greensboro Coliseum area is not really downtown, but it's not too far from it either. And so you've got all these different sized venues essentially inside of one location that you could do all kinds of stuff. So this particular show, Collective Soul, was supposed to take place at the White Oak Amphitheater. We had been dealing with some weather, and the day of the show, it was kind of cool and rainy. So, but there wasn't no storms. There was no like lightning or anything. So me and David just sort of chalked it up and we're like, okay, well, I guess worst case scenario, we'll sit in the rain. And that's another thing. We had seats. That's important to remember. It was outdoor at an amphitheater, but we had actual physical seats to put our butts on. That's important. So, I mean, almost on the way to the Coliseum, he got an email that said, hey, your concert is being moved indoors to the Special Events Center. Now, I speculated that it could have been just the weather, but it also could have been ticket sales, because I'm not exactly sure how many people the amphitheater holds and how many people the Special Events Center holds, but I can almost guarantee the Special Events Center holds less. I've saw one or two other bands there. I think that's where I saw Volbeat with him and maybe All That Remains, maybe one or two other bands. I know it was a weird lineup. It was kind of a fun show. And then I think I saw Pat Benatar in there, which that's also a cool show. But anyway, so me and David are on the way to the show, and we've been moved from the outdoor amphitheater to the indoor Special Events Center. Now, the way the Special Events Center is set up is you essentially walk in, and as you walk in the door, the bathrooms are the first thing that you see. But you hang a left, and it opens up into this giant square. And up against the wall on the left, sort of like you just turned the corner from the bathrooms and now you're up against the wall, are bleachers. And then the rest of the floor is wide open. They might have bleachers like way on the other side, and maybe they do like basketball games in there and stuff. I feel like I might have seen a sporting event in there before. But for the way this was set up, they just had the one side of the bleachers pulled out, and then the stage was, further back. So when we walked in, I feel like the opener had already started, but just barely. She only did like 4 songs, I think. So when we got in there, she was already performing, and we were looking at the t-shirts and stuff, because he's like me. If it's not $70 and it's at least kind of cool looking, we're going to get a concert tee. We can't help ourselves. We make pretty good decisions with our money, except on concert merch, because it's kryptonite. So anyway, we stand in line. I actually fought the urge to buy an Our Lady Peace and a Collective Soul shirt. Just got a Collective Soul shirt. I would have gotten an Our Lady Peace shirt if it had tour dates on the back. It didn't. They had 2 with logos, and so I was able to push it down a little bit and not waste my money there. So anyway, so we go in, no problem with the tickets. They basically, we just showed them things, scanned, walked in, just like we would anywhere else. But here's the problem. Other than that wall of bleachers, which is side of the venue, so you're not looking directly on the stage, you're at the side of it, there's nowhere to sit. And the ground is just flat concrete. So I felt kind of bad for my buddy David, and myself too, because I paid him full price for the tickets, but we paid to have decent seats as opposed to sitting in the lawn, and the lawn seats were only like, I don't know, $25-$30. Instead, we paid double that, more than double, to be honest with you, to have a little closer seat and to be able to sit down. And now we're in the Special Events Center where you don't sit down. So they had like 2 barricades. This is another thing that I think is kind of shitty that I've seen a lot of bands do and venues do. There's like the VIP pit, and then there's the regular pit, and then there's the I kind of am a fan, but I don't want to be too far away pit, and then there's the special edition pit. Like, it used to be just get there and run to the front of the stage. But now there's all these, like, you pay an extra $20, you can stand here. You spend an extra 40, you can stand there. Spend an extra 100, you can stand on the stage. Like, that's really cool to give fans access to that. But it's also kind of, you know, for the average person who can't afford $300-$400 for a concert ticket. I digress. We get in there, we're early enough that we can kind of get in the middle of the, you know, front and center. Not super close, but not far back at all. Like, we've got pretty good perception of the stage and everything. I do think that there was probably a little bit more production that would have happened had the show occurred outside like it was supposed to. Production-wise, there really was none. There was basically a screen behind the stage that, for the first artist, just had her name, and then actually during the second was also basically just like an advertisement behind them the whole time. When Live and Collective Soul played, they had more graphics, and they would play clips from their music videos that pertain to what they were playing and stuff like that. So it was a little bit better. So anyway, we're there, and I think the tickets were 6:30, and I think she went on at 6:40. So we were walking in and she started. She only played a few minutes. And then after that was Our Lady Peace. Now, I really liked Our Lady Peace back in the day. Their first, probably same thing as Collective Soul, their first handful of albums. I didn't love Navid, which was their very first one, but then Clumsy, Happiness, and then Spiritual Machines, and then Gravity. All of those were bangers. I owned every one of those and really liked it. I think Rain Madia, the lead vocalist, has an incredibly unique voice. A lot of the lyrics are kind of weird. Clumsy's, I think I like them a lot because Clumsy's like a dark, weird record, but then something like Happiness and then Gravity are very pop rock, power pop kind of stuff. So I think they're a really cool band. I wish they would have played longer. They essentially played 7 songs, I think, and mostly from the stuff that, I really liked, so I was happy about that. But the people around us were kind of odd. There was a mix of older folks, which is to be expected. These are bands from the 90s, but a lot of them had like their kids and stuff, and I thought that was cool. I feel like David and I were sort of in this weird spot where we're like late 30s, early 40s, where everybody else was like mid to late 40s, pushing 50, or their kids. So we were sort of like the weird middle-aged group, I guess. But we were having fun. The people around us were there was a couple people that were having a little bit too much fun, maybe drinking, screaming and hollering, but whatever, it's fine. They probably have a stuffy corporate job and this is their night out. So whatever, have fun. You're not hurting nobody. So anyway, Our Lady Peace ends and Live comes on. Now, I'm going to, if you're watching me, whatever, but if you're listening, just use your imagination. I'm going to call them quote unquote live because essentially it's Ed Kowalski or whatever it is, and 4 dudes that are young enough to be his children. And I tell you what, I was never a big fan of Live. Obviously I had heard, I Alone Love You, Lakini's Juice, Dolphins Cry. Like, I've heard all of those songs, and I thought, well, you know what? Hey, I've never seen them live. Maybe live will make Live more cool for me. It doesn't at all. In fact, I kind of hated it. I can't even really put my finger on what I hated so much about it, but it just wasn't very good. I felt like Ed, the lead vocalist, was very much just kind of there, just kind of phoning it in, sort of. The guys around him almost acted like they were in the wrong band. Like, the bass player was this huge, burly guy with a beard who was like throwing down, and it's like, dude, this is Lightning Crashes. Calm down. So And then the lead guitarist, he was great, but he was obviously like, he wants to be a superstar. And so he's going to have to like get with a country artist or something, because playing with live is not his, I don't know. He can do better. But it was fine. I didn't hate it, but I really didn't love it. But what was really interesting to me was, and they advertised this as the quote unquote Unity tour, and it was very much like kind of co-headline Collective Soul and Live. And I don't know if they switched on certain nights or if it was always, Our Lady Peace live and then Collective Soul. Maybe sometimes it went Collective Soul live. I don't know. But a lot of the people around us were wearing live t-shirts, and they actually left. Like, they stuck around for a couple of songs by Collective Soul, but then they left. And I was just like, y'all sat through all of that shit, and now Collective Soul's up here. Every song is a banger you've heard on the radio practically, and y'all are leaving. It blew my mind. But anyway, so Live does their thing. Speaking of lightning crashes, oddly enough, they ended their set with that, which I thought was very bizarre. Like, of all their quote-unquote hits, that's the one you're going to end the show with. So, weird, but whatever. So they finish up, then, the show's rolling on time. Like, everything's going really smooth. But me and David, our knees and our ankles are just shot. We've been standing here for 4 or 5 straight hours on concrete, and it's like, those seats sure would have been nice right about now. So anyway, Collective Soul comes up there, and I tell you, man, I think their lead singer's also Ed. I think it's Ed Roland, maybe. He's pushing. He's got to be like, I think early 60s maybe, and he was having so much fun. The whole band was. Now, and I know Live was just the singer, and then everybody else was a hired gun. A couple of the members of Collective Soul are either original or have been there for 10 plus years. So it's not as bad as Live. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think everybody in Our Lady Peace was original except for the drummer, maybe. Don't quote me on that. There might have been another guy that switched out, but kind of similarly, it's been mostly those guys for a while. But anyway, Collective Soul, a lot of fun. They sounded really good. No hiccups, no nothing. Everything was really solid. Played a lot of stuff off the Blue album, the self-titled album, which is probably my favorite Collective Soul album. So, and including stuff like Gel and Where the River Flows, which are not deep cuts, but, because obviously they play Shine, that sort of. What was interesting was they played Shine early. It was like the second or third song. They played a couple songs I had never heard before off of some other stuff, but they sounded really good. They were tight. They were professional. And like I said, Ed just looked like he was having a lot of fun. I did say, no offense, Ed, he's got this long white hair, and I've heard stories about him dressing kind of funny. He came out in like a white cowboy hat and like cowboy shirt and pants and everything, had these stars on his butt cheeks. It was really funny, but like I said, you could just tell he was having fun. The whole band looked like they were having fun. A lot of smiles and playing off of each other and stuff. At one point I said Ed sort of looked like Dana Carvey cosplaying as long-haired Maynard from Tool. I'm sorry. He was just kind of like doing snake arms and stuff, and he's getting older, so it was funny. But anyway, so the show went off without a hitch. There wasn't any real major issues. Probably the most aggressive thing was on the way home. We stopped at Taco Bell, and between the two of us somehow spent $30. I mean, it's Taco Bell. It shouldn't be that bad. But because the show was in Greensboro, we got home in a decent hour. So it was a lot of fun. And I will say I'm still a little perturbed about the ticket situation. I'm totally cool with them moving it inside if the weather is bad. But if you're going to move from a venue with seats to a venue without seats, and maybe there was something we could have done. It was hindsight 2020. Maybe we could have talked to somebody and been like, hey, these are the type of tickets we have. Does that mean we just stand here with general admission, or does that mean we can maybe stand in this section or whatever? You have 4 different mosh pits. Like, do we pick one? Like, no, I'm kidding. It wasn't that crazy. There was just like 2 separate sections. And it was like, well, that might be a VIP thing, but whatever. Like I said, it doesn't matter. We had a good time. And if you've ever seen Collective Soul or Live or Our Lady Peace, or you know what? Hold on. I'm going to get her name again. Greylin James Rue, which, by the way, she was fine. Like, she kind of had, it kind of reminded me of sort of Alanis Morissette 90s female-fronted rock. Like, it wasn't bad. It's just, I was there for, Our Lady Peace and Collective Soul, so I was just kind of like, she's an opener. You warm up the crowd. I really, really wish Our Lady Peace could have got, like, maybe 2 or 3 more songs, and Live maybe does not play. That would have been cool. Or maybe Live was the first band that plays 6 or 7 and then go away. But whatever. We had fun. If you've never seen Collective Soul live, I'd say check them out. If you've never seen live, I mean, I guess if you really like what you've heard on the radio, but to me, it's just Ed and random people. Like, I don't know. It didn't do anything for me. And then, yeah, Our Lady Peace is great live. I'd recommend seeing them if you ever get a chance. But yeah, so that's Monster's most recent adventure to go see live music. And I've got tickets to see at least 3 more shows so far this year. But it's only August, so Lord knows, there might end up being some more. But if you've ever seen any of these bands live, or you're a fan, you're not a fan, whatever, let us know. breakdownsbreakfast@gmail.com. Feel free to comment, like, share, subscribe, whatever. I don't know what the hell you do on these things. But yeah, thank you for hanging out, and have a great day.